Welcome to Meaningful Morning. In the Rig Veda, the Shanti Mantra, this is the prayer of invocation, and to evoke this as well, there is a line in this prayer which shares, Anena dhitena ahoratran sandhadhan. And what the seeker, the student, the disciple prays for, he is making a promise to their divinity that they will not know what day is, what night is, because of their study of the Upanishad. They will not know when it's daytime, when it's nighttime. They will be this immersed in their exploration of the Upanishad. What a lovely sentiment. And I feel we are nurturing this in Meaningful Mornings. Many of you started to sleep earlier, wake earlier, study earlier. I've been to many of your homes and you've showed me the notes that you've written from Meaningful Morning. You are living this prayer where night, day, controlled, uncontrolled, all of that becomes less relevant. You are this immersed in your content. Chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita. If there could be a slogan for this chapter, it would be unity in diversity. Chapter 11 would be diversity in unity. Now there's a deduction we have to make from chapter 10 and 11, and that is that there is two-ness or dvaita. Chapter 10, Tat is in Tvam. Chapter 11, Tvam is in Tat. They're different. Chapter 12, the slogan is of bhakti. We have defined this in a practical sense as dedication, making this even more feeling-oriented. Dedication changes your identification. Whatever you are dedicated to, you start to identify with that, you start to become that. Last night when Sheila and I went on a date, she was sharing with me how fulfilling it is for her to be a mother. And I asked her to explain this for our own reflection. And my point is that she's dedicated to our children, so she identifies with them. Yes? This change in identification in Sanskrit is asi. Asi is becoming. The aspiration being divinity and unity are becoming one. Tvam and Tat are becoming one. Past Vibhuti and yoga is Krishna. Past Tvam and Tat is Brahman or infinity. It is this train of thought that carries us into chapter 13. In chapter 13, verse 0, Prince Arjuna asks 6 questions. He already, intellectually, knows the answers. His questions are so clear, he knows the answers, he's only soliciting confirmation. Often when I get to interact with you one, you share your insights, and I tell you, you already know, you're just looking for my confirmation. Have more faith in yourself. In verse 1, Sri Krishna answers these questions in his own order. You will find this in our science, in our maths. Questions are asked in an order, answers are given in another order, because who knows more? The student or the teacher? See, the teacher answers in the way that is best for the student's evolution. Shri Krishna answers what the kshetra is. In your commentary, it says the body. But we have to reflect on this. The body is an equipment. The kshetra or field is the body, but more so our equipment. That includes intellect, mind, breath, body. In some shlokas, Sri Krishna will elaborate on what the kshetra is. In the same verse, he answers what the kshetrajna is, the knower of the field. Now think about this. You have a field and you have a knower of the field. That means they're both finite. Whenever you use the word and, that means there's two, which means they're finite. And that's why I had shared the knower of the field is the ego. The ego is different than the equipments. It is unique. It is distinct. It is indescribable. It is the one that identifies with the equipments. In verse 2, Shri Krishna elaborates marginally. He shares, the knower of the field is me. The kshetrajna, here he's sharing, is not the ego, but rather is the spirit. Now I need everyone to listen more carefully now, reflect more carefully. This morning I had a deep one-with-one. A seeker was reflecting a lot on these initial verses of chapter 13. The ego's first function is separation. Advaita, when affected, as if affected by the ego, becomes Dvaita. The ego's second function, this is the one we know most of, is identification. First it separates and then shares, I am this, I am that. Separation, then identification. This is what the ego does. Separation is causal, extremely subtle. The identification is less subtle, it is more gross. Now, this shift between verse 1 and verse 2, now Sri Krishna is sharing the knower of the field is a spirit. What we can do to evolve the knower of the field is observation. Observation. In Sanskrit, this is called the sakshi. And the fulfillment of observation is awareness. Observation is a verb, correct? Awareness is not a verb, it's a noun. So see my hands here, okay? Imagine this is the ego, okay? And we have to identify less. That's why I keep sharing, be generous, be generous, be generous. So you're not holding on as much. When you do that, you start to notice the separation more. It's like you're deeper in the ego in a good way. And then what happens when you start to practice disidentification? It's like you jump from the ego. This is the ego, this is awareness. That jump is observation. You can't call it the ego, but you also can't call it awareness. Like momentum, correct? If I'm running so fast and then I jump, I'm not putting in any effort, but my momentum is carrying me. It's like my leg strength and the ground. I'm in between there. Observation. And when you observe completely, you stop observing. You stop being the observer. That is awareness. This is why Shri Krishna shares, I am the Kshetrajna. I am awareness. And then he also shares, what is the Kshetrajna? It is the spirit knowing the field, and the field knower is spirituality. Knowing the field and the field knower is spirituality. Shri Krishna elaborates on this in the next verse. Please, please, please reflect on these 4 elements I've shared. I'm going to go like most extrovert is identification, more inward looking is separation, more inward looking is observation. And then it's no longer inward looking, it's being in. That's awareness. From subtle ego to causal ego to ego awareness to awareness. Are you happy with this explanation? Should be. This will change your lifetimes forever. This is what's amazing about spirituality. Tat kshetram yaccha yadrikcha yadvikari yatascha yat sacha yo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shrunu. Reading the translation. This is a verse where Shri Krishna is sharing. This is what I'm going to explain now. What the field is, of what nature it is, what are its modifications, whence it is. The first line is sharing, this is the kshetra, and now I'm going to elaborate on this, how it changes, what its effect is on us. And then the second line, and also who he is, the field knower, and what his powers are. These hear from me in brief. A beautiful point here is that Shri Krishna is sharing, I'm sharing this. Prince Arjuna's relationship with Shri Krishna is completely different from chapter 4, where he questions, are you sure you're eligible to teach this? I feel like in the Vedanta course, when Pujya Swami Tejomayananda first would teach me, I would have to reflect a lot. And then I nurtured a crazy faith where I don't have to reflect anymore. I just have to follow. He's already done the mananam. I just have to do the nididhyasanam, which is the practicing. If I can give you one insight from this third verse, It is the critical value of viveka. Viveka. Viveka comes from the base vij, which means to filter, to separate, to discriminate in a spiritual way, not in a worldly way. Discriminating in a spiritual way, this is matter, this is spirit. We're so invested in discriminating in a worldly way that we have no bandwidth to discriminate in a spiritual way. I had a one-with-one with a seeker recently who was telling me her parents, they're brahmanas, and her significant other is not. And I thought to myself about how wrong this discrimination is, and how it still pervades despite such intense exposure to these teachings. Our vasanas are authentic and deep, and more application will change these vasanas. When Sheila and I were getting married, we didn't care how old we were or what education we had or where in the country we were. We focused on our value system. That's what chapter 12 is about. Chapter 13 is about. For those who are having a relatively difficult time with these earlier verses, I'm encouraging you to go back to Prince Arjuna's question. We ran an entire course on this. Our Swadhyaya guide last year and this year is on this. In this wonderful map, this beginning portion of chapter 13 is laid out so clearly. This is available to you on our website. You can register for our Swadhyaya guide that will be commencing soon. You please reflect on the questions and answers, and I will also help you. Day by day, I will help you, but you have to put in your reflection first. From inspiration to application, your application yesterday was to feel that you're living in a game. How many of you tried? Those who tried, I'm positive you would have felt healthier, physically healthier, and more importantly, mentally healthier. Games are really good for us, correct? Feel that. Your application for this morning is, tomorrow is Arbor Day, Tree Day, Mahabhaga Day. And so we are sharing with all of you the opportunity to engage in the highest vocation. Registration for advanced contemplation will commence tomorrow. Tomorrow we will also release the recordings of chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita through Meaningful Mornings. This chapter is imperative to having an orientation of Sanatana Dharma. So your application is, don't be tamasic. Let us not find ways not to be part of this. Nurture that vigilance. Vigilance. I should be like that. To blend day and night. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be joy.